I never imagined my life would come to this moment. Standing in the quiet glow of our Texas living room, the blinds half open, the sound of cicadas humming outside, and my 18-year-old stepson, Ethan, looking at me with eyes full of something I never thought I'd see directed at me. Love. Or at least, what he believed was love. My name is Laura, and I married his father, David, 5 years ago. I married a man who was calm, mild, predictable as the sunrise, and I thought that predictability was safety. My own past had already been chaos, a messy divorce, the sudden loss of my mother, and a financial fallout that almost took everything. When I met David, he was a widower raising a 13-year-old boy alone in a quiet suburban neighborhood outside Dallas. I thought I was walking into peace. But sometimes life hides storms in places that look calm. The night it happened, David was on a work trip in Denver. Ethan came home early from the graduation party at his friend Tyler's house. I remember the exact moment I heard the front door open. I was in the kitchen packing away leftovers, humming to distract myself from the emptiness of the house. The clock on the microwave read 10:42 p.m. Ethan wasn't supposed to be home until after midnight. He stepped inside, still wearing the navy dress shirt I had ironed for him earlier, his hair slightly messy, and the faint scent of cologne lingering around him. He wasn't drunk. His steps were steady, his eyes focused, but there was a strange intensity in his expression. "Hey," I called, wiping my hands on a towel. "You're home early." He didn't answer right away. He closed the door carefully, almost too carefully, like he was afraid something might break. Then he turned toward me. "Can we talk?" he asked. It wasn't unusual for Ethan to talk to me. We'd always had a close relationship. I'd been the one who helped him with homework, coached him through heartbreak, taught him how to drive. David loved him, but David loved quietly. I loved actively, loudly. I filled the spaces that were empty for him. But that night, the way Ethan said talk, it made the hairs on my arms rise. "Sure," I said slowly. "Everything okay?" He took a breath, and I swear in that moment, the air in the room changed. The hum of the refrigerator felt louder. My heartbeat felt sharper. He looked older than 18, like he had lived a lifetime since leaving the house that evening. "I didn't go to Tyler's party," he said. That caught me off guard. "Then, where were you?" "Driving around," he said, eyes dropping for a moment. "Thinking." I nodded, waiting for him to continue. Then he lifted his gaze, and his eyes were full of tears he was trying hard to hide. "I can't keep this inside anymore," he whispered. I felt a chill curl around my spine. "Keep what inside?" His voice broke. "How I feel about you." My breath caught. "Ethan, what are you saying?" He stepped closer, not inappropriate, not touching, but close enough that I could feel his trembling. He reached into his pocket and pulled something out, a tiny silver ring, a simple band, the kind you'd buy at a mall kiosk. My heart stopped. Then he said the words that would change everything. "Laura, will you marry me?" For a moment, I thought the world stopped moving. The kitchen lights felt too bright, the floor too steady beneath me, as if reality was trying to anchor me while my mind spun out of control. I shook my head slowly, my voice barely a whisper. "Ethan, no, you don't understand what you're saying." "Yes, I do," he insisted. His hands were shaking, the ring trembling with them. You're the only person who's ever made me feel seen. You're the one who picks me up when I fall. You're the one who listens. You're the one who cares. I can't pretend anymore. I love you." Tears filled his eyes again. "And I know you don't love my dad the way you used to. I see it. I hear you crying at night. I hear the arguments. I know you're unhappy." "But I can make you happy. I know I can." I felt like my chest was collapsing. He wasn't wrong about the marriage. David and I had been crumbling for months. But the idea that Ethan had taken my vulnerability, my exhaustion, my kindness, and turned it into this, it broke something inside me. "Put the ring away," I said softly. He flinched. "Please, just listen." "Ethan, I am listening," I said, my own voice shaking now. "And what you're feeling? It isn't love. It's confusion. It's attachment. You're trying to fix something that isn't yours to fix." His jaw tightened. "Then tell me you don't feel anything. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me you haven't felt how close we've become." My heart twisted. I had felt close to him, but like a mother, like a protector, not whatever he was imagining. "I do care about you," I whispered. "So much, but not like this. Not like you want me to." His face crumpled. "So you don't love me?" "I love you," I said, "but not as a partner, as family, as someone I helped raise." That word, family, hit him like a blow. He closed his hand around the ring, his knuckles turning white. His voice came out hoarse. "I knew you'd say that," he whispered. I had to try." I reached out automatically, wanting to comfort him, but he stepped back. "Don't," he said quietly, tears finally spilling. I can't be near you right now." Then he turned and walked down the hallway toward his room, the soft thud of the door closing echoing through the house like a breaking bone. And I stood alone in the kitchen, shaking, staring at the shadows on the tile floor, realizing that nothing in this house would ever be the same again. I didn't sleep that night. I tried. I climbed into bed, pulled the comforter over me, listened to the hum of the ceiling fan. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw Ethan standing in the kitchen, that trembling ring in his hand, that heartbreaking mixture of courage and pain in his voice. "Will you marry me?" I kept hearing it, echoing, pounding, repeating. I turned on my side, then my back, then curled into myself, but nothing helped. The house was too still without David, too quiet, too full of heavy, unfinished things. Around 3 a.m, I found myself sitting on the living room couch, hugging my knees, listening to the faint tick of the thermostat. And then I heard it, a soft, muffled sob from down the hallway. "Ethan." My chest tightened. I didn't go to him. I couldn't. Anything I did or said right now would only confuse him more. Instead, I sat there, heart aching, realizing just how deep his feelings went and how long he had been carrying them. By sunrise, my eyes were burning and my head throbbed. I made coffee, even though it tasted bitter. I kept pacing the kitchen just to keep myself from shaking. At 8:14 a.m., the sound of a door opening made me stop. Ethan stepped into the hallway. His eyes were red. His hair was messy. He wore a simple gray t-shirt and jeans, his shoulders slightly hunched. He looked nothing like the confident, strong 18-year-old who had walked across a graduation stage just days earlier. He looked like a boy who had built a dream inside his heart and watched it collapse. He paused when he saw me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "Good morning," I said quietly. He nodded, eyes down. Morning. I wanted to ask if he slept. I wanted to ask if he was okay, but the words got stuck in my throat. Ethan walked to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and leaned his back against the counter, on the opposite side of the kitchen from me. Distance. He needed it. I needed it, but it still stung more than I expected. I'm sorry, he said suddenly, voice low, hoarse. For last night. My heart twisted. Ethan, you don't have to apologize for having feelings. He shook his head. No, I do. You didn't deserve that. I shouldn't have put you in that position. He swallowed hard, trying to keep his composure. I hit a breaking point. I couldn't hold everything inside anymore. I set my coffee down. Ethan, you weren't wrong for being honest. But the situation? It's complicated, sweetheart. He flinched slightly at the word sweetheart. I know it's wrong. His voice cracked. I didn't know what else to do. There was a silence so heavy, it felt like the air thickened. Finally, he forced himself to meet my eyes. I'm leaving for my job in Houston on Tuesday anyway, he said. So whatever this is, whatever happened, it won't matter after that. Houston. The move had always been part of the plan. He'd gotten an entry-level mechanic job with a big auto shop there. He was proud of it. I had helped him fill out the application. I had cheered when he got the acceptance call. I never imagined he was planning to leave while holding something like this inside him. You think leaving will fix it? I asked quietly. No, he whispered. But staying would make it worse. He gripped the bottle so tightly the plastic crackled. Then he stepped toward the hallway again. Halfway there, he stopped, turned, and said something that pierced me like a blade. I wasn't wrong last night, he whispered, voice trembling. I know you're unhappy with Dad. I know he doesn't see you the way you deserve to be seen. And I'm not saying that because I want you. Not anymore. I'm saying it because it's the truth. Before I could respond, he walked away. His bedroom door closed with a soft click, and I stood there, heart pounding, mind spinning, realizing that Ethan wasn't the only one drowning in things unspoken. Was I unhappy? Yes, but I had buried it so deeply I didn't recognize it anymore. Now someone else had. David returns. David came home the next evening. He walked through the door like he always did. Keys tossed in the bowl, suitcase dropped near the dining table, a tired sigh escaping him. Hey, honey, he said, kissing my cheek without really looking at me. You wouldn't believe the delays at the airport. I swallowed, forcing a smile. Welcome back. Ethan came out of his room a few minutes later. His face was calm, composed, too composed. Hey, Dad, he said. David grinned, oblivious. There he is, the graduate. Missed you, son. They hugged. Ethan forced a smile, but I saw the stiffness in his shoulders. I saw him avoid looking in my direction. David didn't notice a thing. He never noticed the small things. How was the party? David asked. Ethan hesitated for half a second. Not enough for his father to sense anything, but I saw it. It was fine, Ethan said. Just hung out with some friends. Lie. A small one, but it landed between us like a stone. David clapped his shoulder. Good. We'll do a barbecue tomorrow night before you leave for Houston. Ethan nodded. Then his eyes flicked toward me. Just for a second. A glance heavy with everything we weren't saying. Then he disappeared into his room again. The dinner that broke me. While David showered, I started dinner. My hands were shaking the whole time, cutting vegetables, seasoning chicken, stirring sauce. But I kept moving, kept pretending, kept smiling through the cracks. Ethan came out briefly to grab a fork and go back to his room. He didn't sit at the table with us. David didn't question it, but I felt every ounce of his absence. David talked through dinner, about work, about deadlines, about a client who'd been giving him trouble. I nodded, pretended to listen, pretended everything was normal. Inside, I felt like I was suffocating. At one point, David paused, frowning slightly. "You okay? You seem quiet." "I'm fine," I lied. He accepted it without hesitation, because he always did. But I wasn't fine, not even close, because for the first time in years, I saw my life clearly, the empty spaces, the quiet pain, the emotional loneliness I had stopped naming. Ethan had seen it too, even when I hadn't wanted to. After dinner, I washed dishes with trembling hands. One glass slipped and shattered in the sink. The sound was so sharp it made me flinch. David called from the living room. "Everything okay?" "Yes," I said again. Another lie. By midnight, the house was dark. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling something heavy and inevitable shifting inside me. This wasn't just about Ethan's confession. It was about everything that led to it. Everything I had ignored. Everything I had buried. Everything I was afraid to face. And the truth was becoming clearer by the minute. Nothing about this family was stable anymore. Not my marriage. Not our silence. Not the house built on cracks. And Ethan's broken words kept echoing. "You're unhappy." I see it. For the first time, I finally admitted he was right. The next 2 days passed like slow-moving storms, quiet, dark, and carrying weight in every corner of the house. Ethan barely spoke to me, and when he did, his voice was polite but distant, careful, almost rehearsed. He was trying so hard to restore boundaries, trying to protect himself, trying to erase what he had confessed. And David, he didn't notice the shift between us at all. He was too busy planning Ethan's farewell barbecue, giving fatherly advice, talking about new tires, budgeting, workplace safety. Everything except the emotional hurricane happening right under his roof. By Sunday night, the tension in the air felt almost physical. I tried to stay busy. Laundry, dishes, cleaning things that weren't dirty. But everything reminded me of something I didn't want to think about. Around 11 p.m., I went to the laundry room to fold towels. The house was quiet. David asleep, the TV off. The world settled into darkness. A soft knock came from behind me. I turned. Ethan stood in the doorway. He looked exhausted, his eyes shadowed, his face thinner than it had been just days earlier. His hands were shoved into his pockets like he was holding himself together from the inside. "Can we talk?" he asked softly. My heart tightened. "Of course." He stepped inside, closing the door halfway behind him, not shutting it fully, keeping a line of light and accountability, a sign of respect, a sign that he wasn't crossing boundaries. That small gesture alone broke me a little. He leaned against the washer, eyes on the floor. "I leave tomorrow morning," he said quietly. 6 a.m. I forced a nod. "I know." Silence stretched long and heavy. Then he lifted his gaze to mine, and the pain in his eyes was unmistakable. "I didn't want to leave with things like this," he whispered. I swallowed hard. "I know, I didn't either." He took a slow breath. I want you to know that I'm not angry at you, and I'm not embarrassed. I needed to be honest. I was drowning in everything I didn't say." His voice trembled. "And I know you were trying to take care of me. You always did." I stepped closer, not too close, but enough that he knew I was listening. He continued, "When Mom died, I shut down. Dad tried, but he didn't get it. He didn't know how to talk about feelings. He still doesn't." He swallowed. "But you did. You didn't force me to talk. You just showed up. Every day, every moment. I didn't even realize how much that meant to me until I got older." My eyes stung. "I wanted to protect you too," he whispered, "but I didn't know how. And somewhere along the way, my heart got confused." That word, confused, felt like a breath of relief. It meant he was beginning to understand. "Ethan," I said softly, "you're not alone in that. Grief confuses love. Trauma confuses attachment, wanting safety, wanting connection. Those things can feel like more than they really are." He nodded slowly, absorbing every word. "I know," he said quietly. "I've been thinking about it nonstop. I guess part of me was just terrified of losing you." "You're not losing me," I said immediately. "You're going to Houston, not another planet. And our relationship doesn't end because things got complicated." He looked at me with that same heartbreaking vulnerability that I'd seen in the kitchen days earlier. But this time, it wasn't infatuation. It was sadness and understanding and growing up. "I just didn't want you to hate me," he said. "I could never hate you." He breathed out shakily, relief softening his shoulders. Then he reached into his pocket. My heart stopped for a beat, but it wasn't the ring. It was a folded piece of paper. He held it out to me. "I wrote this the night after, you know, before I realized how wrong I was thinking." I hesitated before taking it. The paper was wrinkled, slightly damp at the edges, like it had been held through tears. "I'm not going to read it now," I said gently. He nodded. "I know, just don't throw it away, even if it's stupid. It's part of me learning how to deal with things." I placed the note on the dryer. "I'll keep it." For the first time in days, he smiled. A real, small, cracked smile, but a real one. And then something happened that broke whatever was left of my restraint. He stepped forward and hugged me. Not tightly, not desperately. Just a quiet, soft goodbye hug. A thank you hug. A you saved me hug. I closed my eyes and let myself hold him for a moment. Gently, carefully, feeling the ache of everything we'd been through press between us like a quiet truth. When he pulled back, his eyes were glassy. "I'm sorry for hurting you," he whispered. "I'm sorry you felt so alone," I replied. He nodded, then wiped his eyes quickly with the heel of his palm, embarrassed. "Dad's right," he said with a weak laugh. "I'm too soft-hearted." "No," I murmured. "You're just human, and that's not a flaw." He exhaled shakily. "I should go pack," he said. "Okay." He stepped toward the doorway, hand on the wall. Then he paused, turned back, and delivered the sentence that would echo through me for the rest of the night. "I know you don't love Dad anymore, but I hope you don't stay unhappy forever." I didn't answer. I couldn't, because for the first time, his words didn't feel like a boy's confusion. They felt like a truth I'd been running from. And as he walked down the hall toward his room, I realized something terrifying. I didn't know how to fix my marriage. And now, I couldn't hide from that reality anymore. Ethan left before the sun rose. I woke at 4:57 a.m., long before my alarm, the house still wrapped in darkness. Something inside me, instinct, maybe, pulled me from bed. David was snoring softly beside me, unaware of everything happening beneath his own roof. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake him, and walked into the hallway. A thin line of light glowed from under Ethan's door. I heard the soft scrape of drawers closing, the rustle of clothes being folded. I stood there for a moment, hand pressed lightly against the wall, breathing in deeply. I didn't knock. I didn't want to intrude. A few minutes later, the door opened. Ethan stepped out with a single duffel bag slung over his shoulder. His eyes were tired but clear. His face was calm, steadier than it had been in days. When he saw me, he stopped. We didn't speak right away. Words felt too small for something so big. Finally, he whispered, "I didn't want to wake you." "I was awake," I said softly. He nodded. There was a long, heavy silence before he spoke again. "I'm riding with Tyler to Houston. He's waiting outside." I glanced toward the frosted glass of the front door where faint headlights pulsed through the dawn haze. "Do you want me to wake David?" I asked. Ethan hesitated. Something flickered across his face. Resentment? Disappointment? Grief? Then he shook his head. "No, he won't notice the difference between goodbye at dawn or goodbye at noon. To him, it'll just be something that happened." I felt that deeply. "Okay," I murmured. "If that's what you want." The floor creaked softly as we walked to the living room. He set his bag down for a moment and looked around, slowly, quietly, like he was memorizing every detail. The family photos. The old couch he'd spilled juice on years ago. The little dent in the wall from when he'd tripped carrying his football gear. All the things that made this home his history. Then he turned back to me. "You think things will get better?" he asked suddenly. It wasn't about him. It was about David, about me, about all the cracks in this family. I took a slow breath. "I think things will change, and sometimes change is the only way anything gets better." He nodded, eyes glistening. "I want you to be happy," he whispered, "even if it's not with Dad." His voice trembled on the last word. But not from desire. This time, it came from something heavier. Protectiveness, empathy, maturity. He had grown in just a few days, faster than I was ready for. I stepped closer and placed my hand gently on his arm. He didn't pull away. "You're going to do amazing things in Houston," I told him. "And you're going to meet people your age. Build your own life. Let yourself be young." He glanced down, a small, sad smile tugging at his lips. "Being around you, it made me forget I'm still supposed to be figuring things out." "You have time," I said. "And I'm still figuring things out too." His eyes softened. "Can I hug you?" he asked quietly. The fact that he asked, that he respected the boundary, meant everything. "Yes," I whispered. We hugged in the dim, quiet living room. The only sound the soft hum of the air conditioner and his shaky exhale. It felt like closing a chapter, a painful one, a necessary one. When he stepped back, he wiped his face quickly, embarrassed. "I should go," he said. "Okay," I replied. He grabbed his duffel bag, walked to the door, and opened it. A soft pink streak of dawn stretched across the sky. He paused, one foot outside, one foot inside. "Will you text me sometime?" he asked. "Of course," I said immediately. "Whenever you need." "That's the problem," he said with a sad laugh. I don't want to need you. I want to learn how to just appreciate you without depending on you for everything." "That's part of growing," I whispered. "And you're doing it already." He nodded slowly, then stepped out into the early morning air. Tyler waved from the car. Ethan lifted his hand in a small, silent goodbye. Then he closed the door behind him. The lock clicked. The house felt suddenly too quiet, too hollow, too filled with all the unsaid things he carried away with him. I pressed my palm flat against the wood, feeling the cool surface, the finality of the moment. "He's gone?" a groggy voice said behind me. I turned. David stood in the hallway, rubbing his eyes. His shirt was wrinkled, his hair messy. He looked half asleep, half confused. "Yeah," I said softly. "He left a few minutes ago." David yawned. "Why didn't he wake me?" My throat tightened. "You'll have to ask him." He nodded, totally unaware of the emotional earthquake that had just taken place. "I'll call him later," he said, shuffling toward the kitchen. Coffee. I stared at him. This man I had been married to for years, who never saw what was happening around him, who never noticed people's emotions unless they were loud or dramatic or directly pointed at him. He was a good man, but he didn't see me. Not really. Not like Ethan had. And that realization sat like a hot stone in my chest as I whispered, "I'm not hungry." I walked toward the bedroom, needing space, needing silence. But inside, something had shifted permanently. Ethan was gone, but he hadn't taken the truth with him. And now I had to face what was left behind. The first thing I noticed when Ethan was gone was the silence. It wasn't the peaceful kind, soft, gentle, calm. It was the heavy kind, the kind that filled corners, slipped under doors, and sat in the middle of the living room like an uninvited guest. David didn't notice it, but I did, every second. That morning, he flipped through channels on the TV while sipping his coffee. Sports highlights, some talk show, weather updates. He reacted to things on the screen, laughing, commenting, cursing at the score from last night's game. Meanwhile, I sat on the couch, knees pulled to my chest, staring at the front door like it might swing open and undo everything. But it didn't. It wouldn't. Ethan was on the highway by now, starting his new life, trying to heal, trying to forget what he felt, trying to let me go, and I knew that was the right thing. But it still hurt. Not because I wanted him, but because I wanted him to be okay. I wanted him to feel loved, properly, safely, by someone his age who could return that love without guilt or brokenness or complicated lines. David snapped his fingers. "Hey, you hearing me?" I blinked. "Sorry, what?" He raised his eyebrows. I said, "The house is too damn quiet without him. You feel it too?" I hesitated. "Yeah, I do." He nodded and grabbed the remote again. "Kid better call when he gets there. Tyler drives like a psychopath." I gave a dry, forced smile. "He'll call." But he wouldn't call me first. He shouldn't. He needed space, and I needed clarity. The note. I found the note Ethan gave me later that afternoon. I had placed it on the dryer the night before, and every time I passed the laundry room, the folded paper caught my eye. I wasn't ready, but I knew I had to read it eventually. With shaky hands, I sat on the edge of the bed, sunlight warming the carpet beneath my feet. I unfolded the paper slowly, terrified of what was inside. His handwriting was messy, rushed, like the words had poured out faster than he could contain them. It read, "I don't know how to stop feeling this way. I know it's wrong, but it doesn't feel wrong when I'm around you. You see me? You talk to me. You make this house feel like a home again. I don't think I'm in love with you. I think I'm in love with the way you make me feel. Safe, understood, wanted. And maybe that's worse, because it feels real, even though it shouldn't. I know you'll never feel the same. I know this can't happen. I know I'm supposed to grow out of this, but it hurts, and I don't know who to tell. So, I'm telling you, please don't hate me. Please don't leave. You're the only person in this house who ever stayed." I pressed the paper to my chest, breath hitching. Not because of the confession, but because of the pain behind his words. He wasn't in love with me. He was in love with safety, with stability, with the mothering he lost too early. And I had been carrying everyone's weight for so long that I forgot to check if I was collapsing underneath it. I folded the note gently and placed it into my nightstand drawer, not to hide it, but to honor it, as a moment of truth, a moment of breaking, a moment of healing. The fight that had been waiting for years. Around 5 that evening, David came into the bedroom. He stood in the doorway, watching me for a second before speaking. "You okay?" "Yes," I lied. He frowned. "No, you're not."
"You've been off for days. What's going on?" I hesitated for too long. David crossed his arms. "Is this about Ethan leaving?" "No," I said. "Yes," I wanted to say. He exhaled sharply. "Then what is it?" Years of swallowed words rose in my throat. Years of being unheard. Years of loneliness inside a marriage where I slept next to someone who never really saw me. Something in me snapped, not angrily, but honestly. "I'm not happy, David." He blinked, stunned. "What? Since when?" "Since a long time ago." He stared at me like I had spoken a foreign language, like he couldn't believe his own wife might have feelings he never asked about. "What are you talking about?" he said. "We're fine." "No," I whispered, voice trembling. "We're not." He took a step closer. "Did Ethan say something to you? Did he put ideas in your head?" My heart dropped. "David, this isn't about Ethan." He scoffed. "You've been emotional ever since he left. Maybe you two got too close?" "Stop!" It came out sharp, louder than I meant. David froze. I lowered my voice. "Don't twist this into something it's not. I care about Ethan. I helped raise him. He needed support, and you weren't giving it." His jaw tightened. "I provided for him," he said. "Roof, food, school." That's not the same as being present. His silence cut the air. I continued, voice quiet but firm. "You didn't see him grieving. You didn't see him hurting. You didn't see anything. I did, because I was here. I listened. I tried to hold this family together while you drifted." He shook his head. "I work. I pay bills. I put food on the table. What else do you want from me?" I let out a breath that felt like it had been stuck inside me for years. "I want a partner." He flinched. "I want someone who sees me, someone who talks to me, someone who doesn't treat me like furniture or a schedule item." His eyes softened for a second, then defensiveness. "So what? You're saying I'm a bad husband?" "No," I said. "I'm saying I'm lonely." The truth cracked through the room like thunder. David didn't know what to do with it. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once before stopping in front of me. So what now? What are you saying? You want to leave me? I felt tears burn behind my eyes. I don't know, I admitted. But I know we can't keep living like this. He stared at me. Shock, confusion, hurt, pride, then anger, not loud, but simmering. So Ethan leaves for one day, and suddenly you want to reevaluate our whole marriage? That's not fair, I whispered. But fairness didn't matter, because David wasn't ready to hear the truth. He didn't want to see the cracks. He didn't want to face what had been broken for years. And suddenly, I realized, this conversation wasn't an end. It was a beginning. A painful, necessary beginning. I barely slept. I kept thinking about Daniel's words, his heartbeat I had felt through his jacket, his breath trembling every time he said my name. I kept thinking about myself too. How I didn't push him away soon enough. How I didn't shut the door harder. How somewhere deep inside me, something felt seen. Not loved, seen. By morning, I had convinced myself I needed air. Real air. Not Ohio air. Not this house air heavy with memories and guilt. So I drove to Cleveland, an hour and a half of silence, radio off, hands tight on the wheel like the road was the only thing still holding me together. The lake was gray and restless, wind cutting sharp across the water. I thought distance would give me clarity, but distance only made the truth louder. I wasn't just dealing with a confused 18-year-old. I was dealing with loneliness, and that terrified me. When I returned, the house was wrong. The garage door was half open, like someone had pulled it too fast and didn't check. The kitchen light was on, even though I knew I turned everything off before leaving. I stepped inside slowly. The house wasn't loud. It was too quiet. And then I heard it. Soft, shaken breathing coming from the living room. Daniel. He sat with his elbows on his knees, fingers pressed to his mouth, eyes red and wild like he hadn't slept. His backpack was on the floor. His phone lay shattered beside him. He looked up the second he heard me step in, and I swear, it was like watching a dam break. Amy. One word, broken like glass. I swallowed hard. Daniel, what happened? He stood but couldn't keep himself steady. His hands trembled. You were gone all day. His voice cracked. I called. I texted. I didn't know where you were. I thought something happened. I thought you were leaving, just disappearing like everyone else in my life. And he stopped, pressing his palms to his hair like he was trying to hold himself together. My heart squeezed, not romantically, humanly. I just needed air, I said softly. That's all. You should have told me. His voice wasn't angry, it was scared, raw, like a child whose last safety net had been ripped away. I stepped closer, careful. Daniel, you're 18, but you've been carrying abandonment for years. I get why you panicked, but you have to understand. I needed space. He nodded too fast, like he was forcing himself to accept it. I know you did, and I tried to calm down. I tried not to think. But then I remembered what I said last night, and God, Amy, I shouldn't have. He covered his face again. I made everything worse. I lowered myself to the couch beside him, not touching him, leaving a full cushion between us. You told me the truth, I said quietly. But the truth needs boundaries. He looked up slowly. What kind of boundaries?
The conversation, I was afraid to have my throat tightened. Daniel, what you feel, maybe it's love, maybe it's attachment, maybe it's you trying to hold on to the one person who hasn't abandoned you.
But I can't be that. Not like that.
His eyes glossed.
I know. You're grieving, I said. For who? My dad? His laugh was sharp. He checked out long before he died. For yourself, I said softly. For your childhood. For everything you lost before you even had a chance. His breathing slowed, like the words hit somewhere he'd never let anyone reach. You're not wrong, he whispered. You need someone to talk to, I said. Not me, a counselor, a mentor, someone who isn't tangled in your pain. He closed his eyes. I don't want to lose you. You're not losing me, I said. You're redefining what this is. He looked at me with a kind of ache that didn't belong on someone that young. You make me feel safe, he whispered. And that's exactly why this has to change, I said gently. Because your safety shouldn't come from loving someone who's hurting too. Then he said the sentence that broke me. Do you even care about me? He asked quietly. Or am I just a responsibility? The question hit deeper than anything else he'd said. Because the truth was, I did care. More than I should. More than I wanted to admit. And yet, not the way he needed. I leaned forward, hands knotted. Daniel, you matter to me. You matter deeply, but not as a partner, not as someone you should be in love with. You matter because you're a good person who's been through too much alone. A tear slid down his cheek. He didn't wipe it. I can't pretend I didn't feel something last night, he whispered. But maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. Maybe it was just needing someone to see me. And I do see you, I said, but not as who you think I should be. He nodded slowly, almost painfully. Okay, he whispered. I hear you. But just when I thought the moment was over, he took a breath, steadying, grounding. I'm going to respect what you said, he murmured. But I'm not leaving this house. I blinked. You don't have to leave. I mean permanently, he said. I'm not running. I'm not disappearing. I'm staying until I rebuild whatever part of myself is broken. And I want to do it right. I want to get help. I want to face things, but I want you to be in my life while I do. My chest tightened, relief mixed with fear. Guilt with gratitude. That, I whispered, is the most mature thing you've said since the day I met you. He gave a small, broken smile. Then maybe I'm growing up. Then the power went out. At first, I thought a breaker tripped. But then the entire street went dark. Every porch light, every window. A storm had rolled in without me noticing. Wind hissing against the siding, trees bending. Thunder cracked so loud it shook the windows. Daniel stood peering outside. Great. No lights, no heat. Two emotionally exhausted people in a house full of unresolved history. I lit a candle. It flickered across his face, softening him, making him look younger again, smaller, human. He sat across from me on the floor, knees drawn up, candle between us. I'm sorry, he whispered again, voice barely there. I know, I said. We didn't talk after that. We didn't need to. For once, silence wasn't heavy. It was healing. Outside, the storm slammed through the neighborhood. Inside, something steadier took its place. We were finally on the same page. But neither of us knew the next storm was coming. And it wasn't weather. It was family.
The storm passed sometime after midnight, but the house still felt heavy, like the air hadn't quite recovered. Daniel had fallen asleep on the couch, his hoodie pulled over his face, one arm hanging over the edge. His breathing was soft, steady, the first peaceful sound in days. I watched him for a long moment from the hallway. Not as a woman being confessed to, not as someone caught in a boundary-breaking moment, but as someone who finally understood how much pain one boy, one young man, had carried alone, and how close he'd come to folding under it. I pulled a blanket over him gently. He didn't stir. For the first time in weeks, I slept without waking up in panic. The doorbell at 6 a.m., it wasn't a gentle ring. It was the kind of ring people use when they're angry. I jolted awake, heart racing. Daniel sat up on the couch, hair a mess, eyes groggy. Who? Another ring, harder, then fists banging on the door. Amy! I know you're in there! Open the damn door! My stomach dropped. Lisa, Daniel's aunt, his father's sister. The one who always said I married above my station. The one who disappeared the second her brother died. The one who hadn't checked on Daniel in months, not even once. She picked now to show up? Daniel froze, jaw clenching so hard his cheek twitched. What is she doing here? I whispered. Let me talk first. But he stood anyway. I'm not hiding from her. When I opened the door, cold morning air rushed in, and there she was, arms crossed, red hair wild, lips tight in disapproval. Well, she sneered. Nice to see you're alive. I've been calling for hours. We had a power outage, I said. She brushed past me like she owned the house. My house. Oh, this I have to see. Her voice dripped judgment. You two living alone in this place? No wonder everyone's talking. My throat tightened. Everyone? How did you even know where we live? I asked. Oh, please, she snapped. I'm family, and someone needed to step in before things got messy. Daniel stiffened beside the couch, fists curling. What do you want, Lisa? She turned to him slowly, dramatically. What do I want? I want to know why you told people you proposed to your stepmother. My heart slammed into my ribs. Daniel's expression cracked. He whispered, I didn't tell anyone. Lisa laughed a sharp, ugly laugh. You didn't have to. Word got around from your little meltdown at the auto shop, crying about how your father left, saying you had feelings for the only person who stayed. You think small towns don't talk? Daniel went white. I stepped forward. Lisa, that's enough. No, she snapped. It is not enough. That boy is confused. And you? Her eyes cut into me. You should have shut this down before it turned into gossip. I swallowed hard, steadying myself. I did shut it down, and Daniel respected that. Daniel nodded, jaw trembling with anger and humiliation. Lisa scoffed. Respected it? You mean you didn't take advantage of him? Daniel took a step forward. Don't talk to her like that. Oh, so you do love her? Lisa crossed her arms like she'd proven her point. Exactly why I'm here. I'm taking you to stay with me. Daniel stared at her like she was speaking another language. You haven't spoken to me in 6 months, he said quietly. 6 months, Lisa? And now you want to step in because of gossip? She lifted her chin. I'm doing what's right. No, Daniel said, voice low, steady, and, surprisingly, grown. You're doing what makes you look righteous. There's a difference. Lisa flinched. Daniel wasn't done. You left me after Dad died. You didn't check in once.
You didn't help with bills. You didn't even send a birthday card. Amy did everything, and not once did she cross a line. Lisa's lip curled. You're emotionally unstable, Daniel. You need real adults. I'm 18, he said sharply. I'm getting counseling. I'm staying here. And you don't get to decide anything about my life. Silence dropped like a weight. Lisa's face twisted with a mix of embarrassment, shock, and losing control, a combination she clearly wasn't used to. Finally, she hissed, "Fine, but when this blows up, don't come running to me." She turned, slammed the door behind her, and her car tore down the street. The quiet after the explosion. Daniel let out a breath he'd been holding for years, maybe his whole life. He sank onto the couch again, hands covering his face. "I didn't tell anyone," he whispered. "I swear, Amy." "I know," I said. "People talk. Small towns always will." He nodded shakily. I'm sorry she came after you." "You didn't bring her here," I told him. "And you stood up for yourself. That's what matters." He looked at me then, not the way he had before, not with longing or confusion, with clarity, with gratitude, with a fragile sort of maturity. "I'm not going anywhere," he said softly. "Not because I'm in love with you, but because this is the first place that feels like home." My chest tightened, warm, heavy, healing. "And you deserve a home," I whispered. We sat quietly. No candlelight this time, no storm outside, just calm for the first time in months. Where we finally landed weeks passed. Daniel started therapy twice a week. He got a part-time job at the community center. He began meeting people his own age, building friendships he never had time for before. And slowly, gently, the idea of me as anything other than stability faded from his eyes. But his respect grew. His gratitude deepened. His presence matured. One night, as we washed dishes after dinner, he said, "You saved my life, you know." I smiled sadly. "No, Daniel, you saved your own. I just held a light while you figured out where to walk." He nodded. "Still," he whispered, "thank you." And for the first time since he proposed, nothing about the way he looked at me felt complicated. Just human. Just healing. Just honest. The end.